What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast Weekly Real Estate Tip. And you have all heard the stats. They've been pouring in all over the place, all over social media. But it's something like 71% of real estate agents, realtors did not close one single home, one single transaction in 2024. And I've heard different things from 71, 72%, but it's somewhere in that range, right? It's a lot. So what the hell happened? And why is this good news? That's what I'm here to break down here on today's podcast. So what the hell's going on? Why is this taking place? Why is this good news for you, for those of us that are serious? And if you're watching the GSD Mode podcast, the Get Shit Done Mode podcast, or listening to the podcast, you are serious and you are committed about growing a real estate business. So why is this good news for you, and what to do to position yourself to go out there and dominate and take advantage of what we are seeing? So, and again, we've heard this stuff all over the place. It's all over social. Everywhere we go, we're seeing this. And a lot of people are getting discouraged by this. But my recommendation is not to allow yourself to get discouraged. There's always massive opportunity. And again, I want to really break down, okay, why are we seeing this? Why is this taking place right now? What is going on behind the scenes? What do we need to be prepared for? But how can we utilize this as a massive advantage? Go out there and take advantage of gaining more brand recognition, gaining more market share, and position yourself, because this might just damn well be one of the best real estate markets we've ever seen, to go out there and snag massive market share and to skyrocket your overall business. Now, real quick, before we jump into this, make sure to check out gsdmode.com for more additional free resources, more additional free training. I highly encourage you to jump on my 6 steps to 3xing your real estate business webinar. It's a 3-hour in-depth hardcore webinar. Probably the most powerful message I could ever deliver, especially in the market that we're in right now. That's why it's 3 hours, because I didn't want to have some shallow training. You're going to walk out of that webinar knowing exactly what you need to do to go out there, murder it, and crush it, especially during these times. You can also schedule a 100% free, zero strings attached coaching strategy call with me. So if you do not know exactly what you need to do in your real estate business to get from where you're at to where you want to go from a strategy perspective, you can go ahead and schedule that on there. 100% free 60-minute Zoom call with me personally. There's also a way on there where you can learn more about partnering with me at EXP and having a conversation with me, as 100% confidential, 100% zero pressure conversation with me on how we can partner together and go out there and explode your real estate business. Okay, so now let's break down, okay, why is this taking place? Why are so many real estate professionals struggling inside of our industry? Okay, so number one, we are experiencing the hardest market transition possibly since the Great Depression. And it's not just with the real estate market, it's everything that we're seeing, everything that we're going on. And this would take me hours and hours and hours to really break down everything that's taking place on a global level. But we got so many different moving pieces. When we look at the overall demography of the globe, right, we've got a shrinking demography. Human beings now qualify for the endangered species list, which is kind of crazy to think about. So when you think about this and look at this, okay, we transition and switch after World War II into this global this global economy, this global market, global trade. We leveraged our Navy. We had the strongest Navy. We also became the world reserve currency because we had the strongest currency, the strongest military, and the strongest Navy post-World War II. So when they set up Bretton Woods, the agreement was, okay, we will become the world's Navy. So everybody, for the first time, probably since the Roman era, can partake in free, safe trade, so we can all go out there and get rich together. Now, there was some stipulations to that. We didn't do that just because we are amazing human beings. We did that with the agreement of, okay, you guys all need to then partner with us against the Soviets and help us win this Cold War. Well, that's been over for multiple decades. So then we've seen now that's been over for multiple decades. We've seen this, at least for the last decade, of kind of globalization dewinding because it doesn't serve us anymore. And when I say serve us, I'm not talking about you and I. You and I aren't part of these conversations, right? I'm talking about the powers that be when they're in these rooms and they're in these conversations. That's why we are seeing, kind of this new world order, different allies, how they're splitting up, different trade agreements. So we're seeing all the craziness that we're seeing right now. And COVID really kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back to really accelerate this. So with that going on, look, when you have a demography and also with the global trade that we had going on. But when you had a healthy demography where each generation was bigger than the previous generation, okay, you had more people to consume and more people to produce. Now the world is kind of starting to look like an inverted pyramid versus if you think of a healthy demography throughout the global being like a regular pyramid where you had, more, 0 through 5 year olds than you did, 10 through, 15-year-olds and so forth. Well, now we got more old people than we do young people globally in most countries. And look at China. China is the fastest aging civilization to ever exist in recorded history. So when we look at that, okay, you can have cheap capital. Again, when each generation is bigger than the generation before and you have more production, and you have more consumption, okay, we could get away with 0% interest rates, cheap capital, globalization in the way that we did, but dude, everything's shifted, everything's changed, everything's been, kind of flipped up on side of its head. So it's not just the real estate market that is going through a tough transition. It's everything's going through a tough transition. Now we have entered, the most unaffordable time to be alive as a U.S. citizen because of this flip. We were just so accustomed to printing. All these things were highly inflationary. Now we are just, boom, we're seeing the consequences of decades and decades and decades of those actions that we abided by and just the policies that we had and the things that we just were accustomed to. Shit's just changed, right? So that is then created. And when people come to me and they're like, oh, Josh, man, once interest rates get back down in 3 and 4% range, when it comes to mortgages, man, all these buyers are going to come out of the woodwork. Things are going to go crazy again. And maybe I don't pretend to have a crystal ball. However, I'm also at the same point. I also don't believe that to necessarily be the case. It might happen, but I'm not holding my breath on that. Number one, I'm not holding my breath that we'll ever see 3 to 4% interest rates again. But number two, even if we did, I'm like, dude, remove real estate from it. Everything has gotten so insanely expensive. Every time you go out to eat, every time you go to the grocery store, life has gotten so insanely expensive, and it's probably going to get much worse before it gets better because of all the other things that I just discussed and talked to you about here. There's a lot of other, kind of moving pieces and moving parts taking place that are going to add to this. This is not a quick fix. This is not an easy problem. So you look at a lot of markets. There are a lot of markets out there where, real estate is now, well below 20% from the peak. So that, we quote unquote real estate crash territory. If we define what a real estate crash is or any kind of a market crash is, it's a correction beyond 20%. So then you look at, I was just having a conversation with a buddy of mine in his market. I was just having a conversation with him yesterday. His market's down 25%. But then from there, doesn't mean transaction volumes have gone up, even though interest rates have gotten a little bit better and that mortgage payment's gotten a lot better, versus, now their market's down about 25%. Transaction volume is still continuing to decline. Because again, it's just you remove real estate from it. Everything has gotten so insanely expensive, when it comes to that. So we are now amongst the most unaffordable time to be alive, which is just creating this very, very low transaction volume overall climate. And it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. And why do I say that? Because of the debt crisis that we are in. If you look at it, when you have a government that is printing $1 trillion every 100 days just to service the interest on the debt and to service its current obligations. And I know I get people all the time coming to me like, oh, with Doge and all this stuff, they're just cutting. Look, this is not a quick fix. Maybe that will solve it. I don't know, right? I don't have a crystal ball. I have no way of knowing, but all I know that this problem is much deeper and probably it took a long time to get us here. It's probably going to take a long time for us to get out of this, But when they grow the deficit at that point, when they're having to print, because the government can't just go to the printing press and print $1 trillion, right? They have to sell treasury bonds. They got to sell T-bills to print that money, right? Well, if you look at T-bills and the cost of that capital, the more that they print, the higher that cost of capital because there's lower demand, especially now that we're going through this deglobalization. We don't have the international demand for these T-bills from China or Japan or the EU like we used to. It's actually the opposite. There's very, very low demand internationally for this. So they have to continue to increase the interest rate on those T-bills. Okay, well, what's the biggest competitor to the mortgage-backed security, MBS's mortgage-backed security market that dictates mortgage rates, right, is the T-bill market, especially the 10-year yield. Right? Well, if we have a government that is forced to be in a position, not saying they couldn't transition, but I just don't, they're not, right? So when they are continuing to print this money, they have to sell it off. And if there's not the demand to buy, they have to continue increasing the interest rates to make it a more lucrative deal And then money that would be going to the MBS market is coming over here. So this is why when people tell me like, oh, interest rates are going to go back into the 3-4% range, I'm like, dude, the probability is much higher that they'll be an 8 to 10% range than they will 3 to 4% range. Now, am I saying they're going to go to 8 to 10%? Probably not. We're probably going to see what we've seen in 2024, in 2025. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. This is just my best guess. Talking to my people, my close friends that have spent a lifetime in the mortgage industry and that know that market really well. That's kind of where they all seem to align to that. Hey, we'll probably be in the high 6s, between high 7s, maybe low 8s, depending, just kind of like what we saw in 2024, with that. So, okay, cost of capital is going to maintain probably about what we've seen. And even as prices start to decline, though, what have we seen with this? We now just saw for January of 2025, the lowest mortgage purchase application demand that we've seen in over 30 years, since 1990. So 35 years, the lowest that we've seen in over 35 years. So why is that a KPI? Why is that something I pay attention to? Because those are going to be our buyers for the next probably 90 days, the next 3 to 6 months. Okay, if you look at month over month mortgage, people that are applying for mortgages today, those are going to be home buyers, maybe in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, right? That is a great indicator of what's going on, at least for the next quarter of overall transaction volume. So that just continues to decline, even though we're seeing some affordability come back in a lot of markets, most markets. On the real estate aspect, what are we seeing in most markets? We're seeing listing inventory continue to stack, days on market continuing to go up, purchase volume continuing to go down, and mortgage purchase applications continue to drop, even in markets that have corrected really, really hard, right? So again, we're just in this kind of funky, crazy time where transaction volume is very low. And it's probably it's the lowest that we've seen in over 30 years, and it's probably going to maintain low for some time to come. Okay, so that then leads to, more of a challenging environment. If you look at 2012 through 2022, longest bull market in recorded history. I know I talk about this a lot in the podcast, but it's just important to understand this. Longest bull market in recorded history, longest economic expansion in recorded history, longest real estate expansion in recorded history. That was just such easy street. That was a decade of time it was the first time that we've seen that since inception of our country. And it'll probably be the only time that you and I ever see anything like that and for the rest of our careers. I get so many people that are like, oh, I can't wait till the market just gets back to normal. And what they're thinking about is, oh shit, I can't wait till get back to like 2018, 2019. I'm like, this is much more normal than that was, even though that this time that we're in right now is far from normal. Right? But so many people got so accustomed to easy street where you could kind of show up, kind of work hard, kind of be consistent. You could have extremely low level skill set, be a new licensee, whatever, go stick a sign in the ground, get 50 offers, things would sell. It was just easy street. It was easy to go out there and make 6 figures. You could rely on the lowest, low hanging fruit. I have so many that reach out to me, have over the last couple of years since 2022 that I was doing XYZ lead source. And also the lead source went to crap. I'm like, no, you just got accustomed to that lead source providing so much damn low hanging fruit that you never had to figure out how to work it properly, right? So then now that it's back to working this lead source the way that it needs to be worked and to work it properly, you don't know how to do that. So it's not that the lead source is crap. You just got accustomed to easy street and you haven't shifted and pivoted to doing the necessary work that you need to do. Okay, why are 71% of realtors not closing one deal? Okay, well, we got this market shift, this economic shift, all these shifts that they weren't adjusted for, that they weren't able to plan for. But here's the thing is, if you look at the last market shift I went through, during my career, the great financial crisis, pretty much immediately, like pretty damn fast, we had about 40% of realtors just leave the industry pretty quickly. This time we're not seeing that. And why not? Well, back then we didn't have all the gig work. I knew so many, friends in this industry, people that reach out to me through, free coaching calls, whatever, that have other options like driving Lyft, or driving Uber, or there's all this other gig work that they can do while maintaining their real estate license in hopes that they're able to go out there and pop a deal, and kind of bring this back where they don't have to abandon this and go get a full-fledged other career, so there's more side hustles available. Then I was having a conversation with my good friend Ricky Kruth, actually right here. We're doing a podcast. If you guys didn't watch that podcast, I recommend that you do. He flew out here a few weeks ago and we were just sitting here right here in this room having a conversation. And he brought up something that I wasn't really on my radar, because I brought up the gig work as to why we're not seeing, realtor drop off like we did before. We're seeing it. We're just not seeing them let go of their licenses. right? We just saw 71% just check out of the industry in last year. They're just holding their licenses. They didn't let their licenses go. And I brought up the whole gig work thing, but then he also said, he goes, yeah, but the other difference too is in 2008, it was like everything was just falling off a cliff. Prices were coming down. Everything was coming down. Now prices have either continued to go up or have, somewhat maintained as such a high, valuation that one commission check, right now, it's like, okay, a home that I maybe sold during for $125,000, today, I'm sorry, $125,000 at the bottom of the great financial crisis. Today, that same house might be going for $500,000, right? So then, there's that hope that, oh, dude, if I pop a $500,000 deal, or if I pop $1 million deal, I could put, 15 grand, 30 grand, whatever. So there's also that hope component that keeps them in the game because, oh man, it just takes one deal to change the game. It sets a different precedence of hope than maybe that they had before. So this is why we're not seeing it necessarily the mass exodus, that we've seen historically, because we didn't have the gig work before. And again, maybe Ricky's right there. I think that that's a very valid point. There's no way of knowing that for sure, for us to know these things for sure, but I thought that was a very valid point that he brought up. But here's what's really important to understand is we got over 70% that are completely checked out. Look, for you to not do one single deal in a 12-month period, I'm not saying this to be a jerk, but it's just the reality of this, is like you got to be, there's no way you could be intentional and focused on growing your business and not do a single transaction in 12 months. That's like an impossibility, right? To like you almost have to be going out of your way to try to not do deals. Right? Like you gotta be trying to be a secret agent. You gotta be trying to, like it is an impossibility to be focused, to even if you're doing things half-assed, to not do at least one single transaction. So what this shows me is, okay, you've got 3/4 of the industry essentially, or almost 3/4 of the industry that are completely checked out of this industry. So the great news with this is okay, let's just say transaction volume is down, between 40 and 50%. Based on your market from what we're accustomed to over the last, 10, 20 years. So maybe it's down, 40 to 50%. Maybe you're used to having, 100,000 closings in your market a year. Now you're having 50,000 closings. So yeah, it's down, right? But we have way more realtors that are completely out of the game, completely disengaged, completely non-operational, that outweighs the lesser number of transaction volume. So this is that year to go out there and dominate. This is that year to go out there and make sure that you are snagging massive amounts of market share because it's to be had right now. Now, there's a few things that you need to do in order to go out there and do that. And these are things I talk about in the podcast. This might be a little bit repetitive for you, but number one, you must treat your business as a business. What do I mean by this? Okay, number one, you got to have a strategy plan in place where you know exactly with precision what you must do to win every single day. Hey, here's exactly what I'm going to do for my lead gen, for my lead follow-up. Here's the exact activities. Here's exactly how many leads I must generate each and every day, each and every week, each and every month from this. Here's the exact amount of energy and effort and follow-up I need to do to maximize conversions. So when I say a strategy plan with precision, it's like you need to know exactly how much of it you need to do and the energy and effort you need to put into that equates to a deal. Right? So, hey, let's just say you're doing open houses or online lead gen or whatever it is. Maybe calling expired. Say, here, I got to do exactly this many dials, have this many conversations to get one listing taken. Here's how many listings taken that I need to get to eventually get to a closing. So then we eliminate the guesswork and you know exactly what you must do every single day and every single week to go out there and win. And as I said earlier in this podcast, if you do not have a strategy plan with precision, you don't know what that needs to be for you and you don't have that in place. That's why I do these free Zoom coaching calls for GSD Mode podcast listeners. I don't advertise these anywhere else. These are just for you guys, a way for me to help and support you guys. 60-minute Zoom call with you and I will get you dialed in. Go to www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call if you want my help putting that in place for you. Okay, so then from there, you got your strategy plan with precision. Then number two, you got to make sure that you got your processes dialed in. You got to make sure that you got your systems dialed in. So our processes are just our step-by-step actions of our strategy plan. Here's step one, here's step two, here's step three. We take those processes, we then put those inside systems. Systems ensure that our steps are being, our processes, our steps are being executed on the same way each and every single time to ensure things don't get missed, right? Ensures that predictability, ensures things don't get missed, and ensures and helps us to ensure that we're doing them in the most effective, efficient manner possible. Then we got to make sure that our business is tracked, right? If you don't track in your numbers, dude, like you're going to have a difficult time in this business, right? So that's what I mean by treating your business as a business. Then eventually, if you're popping 50 deals and you want to scale to 100 or 200 deals, like eventually you need to also then have the ability to add leverage, right? Like meaning have the ability, the knowledge, the skill set to go out there and acquire and hire and bring on the right talent, right? So then from there, number 2 is that you must play strategic offense. So by strategic, I mean, okay, you need to identify who has the highest probability in this current market of needing your services. So right now it's niching down, man. We don't want to shotgun shit out. We want to operate like a sniper with that sniper scope who has the highest probability of needing our services. I talk to so many realtors, team leaders, broker owners. They're like, oh man, I'm doing so much lead gen, lead follow, but nobody's motivated. I'm like, okay, you're targeting the wrong people. Right? Like you need to be targeting people that are motivated right now, that have the highest probability of needing your services, right? Sales is just pain and pleasure. Targeting the people that have, in the most pain with their current living situation, that need and want out of that pain to get to pleasure. And then your job is to articulate you're the best guide, the real estate guide to get them from that pain to get them that pleasure. So that's what I mean by strategic. So we can't just shotgun crap right now. Got to operate like a sniper scope. And then offense, meaning things that are in your full control. Not going to wait for crap to us. We're not going to play defense. We're not just going to wait for past clients and deals to fall in our laps. Like, what can you do to show up at your office every single day, or your home office every single day, where you're taking action on where you do these actions, that business is guaranteed to go out there and happen. You're not waiting for crap to go out to you. Your fate's in your own hands. You're making things happen. The third component is like you got to work your ass off. You got to be willing to work your ass off. This is not a time to be seeking balance. There's times of peace, times of war in all aspects of life, including business. It's just one of these times. Yeah, right. This is that time to go out there and snag that market share. This too shall not, this too shall pass. This won't last forever. But this is one of those times where you might have to go from working 5 days a week to 6 days a week, 6 days a week to 7 days a week. Maybe you're working 40 hours a week and you step that up to 50 hours a week, right? Like you got to be focused. You got to be intentional, and you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to put in the work, right? There's no way around that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're not going to need to work. Now, if you already are crushing it, you're already kicking ass, you already got all the right things in place, you already got great momentum, I'm not talking to you right now. Like you might be able to not have to necessarily work because you already did the work. You already got the pieces in place. What I'm talking about right now of working your ass off is to those that need to turn your situation around. Your situation isn't where you need it and want it to be. That's who I'm speaking to right now, right? Like if you need to turn your situation around, you need to double, triple your business, okay? That's what I'm talking to as far as you needing to go out there and absolutely work your ass off. Your business is already growing 30% year over year. You've already got the infrastructure in place. You're already a great operator. You already got these good things in place, right? Okay, you may not have to go out there and work your ass off because you already have put in the years of work to get yourself to having that great momentum. But for most out there, they're not in that position right now. They need to hear the message of, look, you got to go out there and put in the work right now. All right, so those are the things that we got to do. Got to treat your business as a business, play strategic offense, work your ass off. And if you do this, market share is out there to be had right now. I can promise you that because the vast majority of this industry is just out, right? And we know this from the numbers. They're disengaged. They're not working. They're just peace out. This is a massive opportunity for you to go out there and shake things up and get yours in this market. As I said, again, make sure to check out gsdmode.com. On there, I recommend that you jump on my free 3-hour in-depth 6 steps to 3xing your real estate business in the next 12 months. Phenomenal training. 100% free. You can also schedule that one-on-one strategy Zoom coaching call with me. So if you do not know exactly what you need to do with precision to get from where you're at to where you want to go, that's what these calls are designed for, because I know it's such a noisy world out there. It's so confusing right now to figure out what the best strategy plan is for you. That's why I created these calls, so I can help you get that dialed in based on your own unique situation, your goals, your market, all of that. And again, you can do that at gsdmode.com. And lastly, if you have interest of looking at what a partnership would look like with me at EXP, you can schedule a 100% confidential, 100% zero pressure Zoom call with me personally there. We can talk about what that potential partnership can look like and how I can help you crush and dominate your real estate goals through that partnership. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Keep kicking ass, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.